In the councils of government, we must guard against
the NFL draft.
Industrial complex.
What's up, everybody? Aaron Nagler here with Tyler Brooke. Another edition of the Draft Industrial Complex coming at you. Tyler, how you doing on this fine Thursday afternoon?
I'm great. I made sure to get my hands in frame to wave this time, so we're good to go.
Man.
I'm feeling great, man. We're less than a month away.
Less than 30 days. Let's go. Come on now.
It's so funny at this point. I feel like most of my work's done. This is that weird period. I just I'll watch a guy here and there, but like I've got 160 guys graded. And as much of a draft junkie as I am, like I don't think I've ever been able to get to 200. I want to make sure I put in the work when I watch a guy.
Right.
But like when we get to a day 3 guy, I'm like, come on. Like, you know,
it's a whole lot. No doubt about it. And it is funny. I was talking to someone yesterday about the fact that, around this time, and now everything's been drawn out because the NFL tries to push back the draft as much as it can. And there was a year or even maybe 2 where they dipped into May. Right. And that was hell on earth. Like that was the worst. But now they've settled into this, last week of April kind of groove. But man, they could have the NFL could have drafted last week. Like the hay is in the barn for the most part. Now I know there are still guys working out at pro days and things like that. But this stretch here, this next 3-week stretch is absolutely one of my least favorite times of year. Simply because now so much of what has already been talked about, right? All the stuff about prospects and what they've done on tape and discussions around how they might fit in the NFL. Now everyone just kind of implodes on themselves and it goes over stuff they've already talked about and starts maybe doubting themselves and starts kind of, I had him here, but maybe he's here. It's like, man, we just need people. So it's time to draft.
Everyone calls this like smokescreen season.
Lying season. Yes, sir.
It's not just lying season. It's overthinking season.
Yes.
My biggest pet peeve in the draft cycle is right now when we get to this point where I always call it have you considered this really good player actually isn't good?
Isn't it really good?
And then
every year.
And I feel like we just discounted an entire years of work that we put into watching this guy.
Yes.
And then it's like, at the pro day, he slipped on his 40. So, we got to just write him off entirely.
Well, and it becomes worse in a draft season where there aren't quarterbacks sucking up all the oxygen as far as content creation and just major narratives being driven. So because of that, more attention gets focused on other top prospects. And you get more of that. You get more of this. Well, this guy who's really good and is a consensus top 10 player, maybe he's not good. Like, no, let's just draft. They could have drafted a week ago. But in lieu of that, and because we have some time to go, I did want to kind of refocus our energy here today at looking at, we're going to start with an area that we all know the Packers are going to be focused on in this draft. Whether they strike out right there in the first round or not, I can't really say, obviously, but I do think Packers fans should know some of the more premier guys that will be at least in consideration, if not in day 1 and at least in day 2.
Yeah.
I wanted to go through your top 5 guys at both defensive tackle and edge, and definitely need to separate those out.
Can I ask you before we start? Because obviously we don't prepare for these things.
No, never. Not once.
Do you want me going straight top 5, including the guys that there's no shot the Packers are getting? You want me to start with,
Oh, no, we'll go your top 5. Like,
you
don't need to cater it for the Packers because I want people to understand, like, who might drive someone else down or someone who, when you see his name on night 1, you understand who that team is taking and what that means for the rest of the remainder of the draft. So, no. We want top 5 at each position, starting with defensive tackle, because I do think that is, for my money, the more likely of the 2 places the Packers look here, although nothing's set in stone, obviously. But start us off at your top 5 guys at defensive tackle.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I have like 6 or 7. If the Packers took him at 23, I'm cool with it.
You'd be fine.
Like, I'll just give you a heads up on that. So maybe I'll mention the other 2 at the end.
That's fine.
But number 1 is Mason Graham. Like, you want to talk about probably a blue chip player, which there's maybe 4 or 5 of those in this draft. I do think Graham is one of them. Michigan Wolverines tackle. He's 6'3", 296. He does not play like a sub 300-pound dude. Like this guy loves contact. He loves engaging blockers. He loves, holding his own at the point of attack and then disengaging, making plays. Like, I think he can do a little bit of everything for you. Do you want him to, plug in at nose? Do you want him to try and kick outside on passing downs? He's really got a complete skill set, and he's just a straight up ass kicker. I'm going to be annoyed if he makes it past number 5 or wherever Jackson.
I was just going to say he's a top 10 player, right? I mean, that's where we're kind of
my opinion in this class. I mean,
right.
We're not even counting the quarterbacks. Like, these guys should not be going in the top 5. Graham is one of the top 5 best prospects in this class, and I don't think
love it.
Really be any argument for it.
You never know, though. It's always interesting. I think there's 2 things here that I always kind of look at because, man, the history of the modern draft especially is littered with big guys who were absolute studs who fell out of not just the top 10 but into the mid-teens when it was so clear they were the best players. You know what I mean? Like the Haloti Nadas of the world. I mean, one of the greatest inside players ever. Ended up going to the Rams because with 12, 13 teams passed on him. It's like, to me, this is the Ted Thompson thing. The good Lord only made so many, and if you have a guy this good, like, it's such a no-brainer to me that he's got to be one of the first picks in the draft.
So the only thing I could see, and I can't confirm this, but before the combine, I'd heard some stuff about his knee being an issue. But I didn't hear anything about that at the combine.
Nope.
I didn't get any clarification, and I haven't seen anyone who is quote unquote in the know dropping him off box. But the thing that Packers fans need to hope for before we get even deeper into this, quarterbacks. We need all the quarterbacks to go. You need to
overdraft those quarterbacks, baby.
Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, all of these guys.
Yes,
hey, Jackson Dart will go before the Packers are on the clock. I hate saying it out loud. It will.
I'm hoping for it. He shouldn't, but I'm hoping for it.
Oh, man. All right, number 2.
Yeah.
Tyleik Williams. This is the guy I want. Again, bunch of guys on here I'd happily take. I love Tyleik Williams. I got to see him in person. That is a wide boy with incredible upper body strength. Teach tape shock and shed ability. As far as when I ever say shock and shed, it's just a drill that we teach even at the high school level. You got to punch that offensive lineman, get all the way extended, and then with that be able to rip off. It helps you control your gap. It prevents you from getting washed out, and then you can disengage and make a play on the ball carrier. His tape is littered with teach tape on this. And it's because he's so damn strong with his upper body. I'm actually kind of surprised at his quickness for a guy that's like 327 pounds. I just think there's so much about him. He had proven track record tape from the time he was a freshman in 2021. I believe he's a freshman All-American in 2021. So he's just got, years of tape. I just think he's a guy that you can plug and play. He's going to be an immediate contributor. It's not going to be like a flashy contributor, but he's going to make everyone around him better because of what he does.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that I got really excited about when I first started watching him. And then I kind of resigned myself to, he's probably going to be gone by the time the Packers are on the clock, but you never know.
No.
Because
he slipped in his 40 and everyone thought he got hurt. So, he should go no earlier than 23.
Absolutely. Mark him off the board. What about number 3?
Let's go Kenneth Grant, another Michigan guy. Again, Michigan defense was still loaded this year, which is just crazy to think about because obviously did not live up to their expectations after winning a natty. But Kenneth Grant is like the best comp you can have for him is like the Mountain from Game of Thrones or something like that.
Nice.
I mean, he's 6'4", 342, but you would not think he's 342 with the way he moves. Like he is a rare athlete at nose. And, his relative athletic score is probably not as high as you think, but you got to relatively like what he did and tested at that size is mind blowing.
Right?
It's ridiculous. He is powerful as hell. I love that he has a bull rush where he can kind of use this explosiveness off the snap, then translate that and convert it into power at that size. He will dog walk offensive linemen into the quarterback's lap. His tape's full with really fun plays, and he's an inhaler, right? Like once you're around him, he's so huge that it's like a black hole.
It envelops the bodies around him, no doubt about it.
And truthfully, if we're talking about it, I think Tyleik or Kenneth Grant, I'm all over the place right now. Those are the 2 guys I'm circling as far as guys I would absolutely love that I can see realistically falling in that 23 range.
Yeah, Grant is interesting to me because I obviously love his tape. I think I agree, obviously, with everything you just said in regards to his play on the field. I do wonder if the Packers go other places simply because of the size. Like, it's not, I love it, obviously, but given everything they've talked about across their defensive front and what they want these guys to do, I don't know. That's just kind of nitpicking, right? And trying to work into their mindset. But I absolutely adore this player. And I think I would absolutely do cartwheels if they picked him at 23.
Well, I also wonder if their plan is to put Kenny back at nose.
That nose, right?
That needs to be, I think it's a kind of a quieter. I don't follow as much of Packers Twitter as much as I have in previous years because covering the league as a whole.
It's good for your head. That's good.
I love Packers Twitter, man. These are my people. Just Clark did not get the job done getting kicked out more. And I know he's been wanting to, and fans have wanted him to forever, but it just did not fit his skill set.
But the thing there too is, like, even if you do that, even if that is the plan, that's probably the plan for 2025. And then you've still got to fill that role in 2026.
Sure.
And these almost always, right, are looks into the future, developmental kind of not insurance, they're like investments, right? Long term. So even if the plan this year is to kick Kenny inside, you're still going to need somebody to probably fill that role going forward. And I wouldn't be surprised if they looked first round this year to do so.
It's totally off topic, but I've even had the same thought process for a guy like Josh Jacobs, who has as great of a year as he had. You need to start thinking a little bit ahead because of the nature of that position. And that's not to say that like they need to replace Josh Jacobs. It's you need to be ready for when that time comes, which sucks to hear. He's been a phenomenal addition after one season, but this is just how the NFL works. You always need to be, a couple steps ahead.
Especially since you don't really know what you're going to get out of Marshawn Lloyd yet. Obviously, very exciting when he's on the field, but he's got to stay on the field.
I would die for Chris Brooks, though. But sorry, we're way off topic.
I love Chris Brooks. Love Chris Brooks. He did a lot of good things for them last year. Finally, rounding it out there, your fifth defensive tackle.
Oh, we're at 4, dude.
Oh, 4. I'll
go through them quick.
I lost my numbers. There we go. 4.
Tackle. Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. And if you keep seeing me look at the side, I'm just trying to glance.
No, I love this player.
I think we talked about him a little bit before, and I was so fascinated by him because I watched him at Texas A&M last year, and I was like, I think there's something there. It's just a mess. I can't tell what the role is. There's some stuff he needs to work on, and then he shows up at Ole Miss. It's like, oh, he worked on everything. Just incredibly powerful at the point of the attack. There is some tape where he's so explosive with that first step off the snap, but if he catches an offensive lineman lacking, those guys get punched in the mouth bad. Like there's some tape, they get outright. Like you can see their heads snap back on the point of attack. And you don't see that a lot from a lot of these prospects. But on top of that, he really improved his pad level. He really improved his hand usage. His pursuit speed and bend and things like that aren't awesome, but you shouldn't expect that from an interior guy.
I was gonna say, right.
Maybe you want it because he's a sub 300-pound guy, but I think that's just being a little nitpicky. He's so dang strong. He can disengage. I think he's got some juice as a pass rusher. I think he's a legitimate 3-down player. And another guy, again, if 23 is on the board and they want to take him, I ain't mad about it.
I don't really dive into this stuff too much, but have you heard or read or seen anything regarding off-field concerns? I seem to recall reading something about it a couple of months ago, but I haven't really followed up on it.
I've read stuff like that. I can't confirm any of it. I hear some off-character stuff about guys now and then, but it's not like I have this encyclopedia of knowledge.
Right.
Yeah, who knows about that one? I mean, not to get a little dicey, but Devontae Wyatt had some stuff coming out when they drafted him, and
but that's my point because the Packers are going to do their work.
Yes.
The Wyatt is a perfect example. When he was selected, Brian was asked point blank about the issue and the stuff that happened off the field, and Brian was right up front saying he never touched a woman. Because the idea, the police report was about domestic violence and everything, and he had punched a wall. And the Packers did their work on that.
Yeah.
So I think, it's just to kind of remind people that if you hear about off-field stuff, like if the Packers select them, there's a decent chance that they've done a deep dive and kind of made sure about the character of the young man.
Yeah. And, obviously I haven't heard anything about Devontae since he's been drafted. Players can mature once they go pro, but they can also do the opposite. And I think that's obviously,
no question.
It's a part that we can never, as drafting us on the outside, kind of guess. And I would never want to, because at the end of the day, these are kids. And, personally, I would never be one of those people that wants to.
I'm not the one in charge of handing them over a big check with guaranteed money. The people that will be doing that work.
Exactly.
That's kind of how I land on it. Number 5. There, we're back on track. Number 5, defensive tackles.
Again, another guy probably in that range at 23. It's another realistic option. I've heard it a few times as a potential guy, but Derek Harmon out of Oregon.
This is my guy. This is my guy right here. This
Well,
is
why
the
don't
one
you
I
go?
want.
I
No,
talk
no, no,
so
no.
much about prospects. I want you to go.
No. This is the way his flexibility and ability
Yeah.
to move up and down the line of scrimmage, but also his insane quick first step, being able to get into the backfield. He feels exactly like what they talk about when they talk in 30,000 foot kind of version of the scheme, trying to be shoot the gap, create havoc, quick across the line of scrimmage. That's this kid.
Yeah.
You can't. And there's no kind of tape I can look at and see him overmatched ever in a one-on-one situation, right? Like he may get stalemated, but I've never seen him beaten. Like he's impressive in that regard.
You're totally right. Like he is quick. He can win in a variety of ways, and that's kind of what you want when you want guys that can move all over the defensive line. The only concerns I had for him, I think there's some stamina stuff I had written down, like as far as extended drives, he can get worn out, but I think that's kind of normal for a defensive lineman.
Kind of a big guy thing, right?
Yeah. And his pad level needs to get a little bit better. I think once he can get a little bit lower, that guy can be straight up dominant. And then obviously there's some physical limitations as far as his length, but he really makes up for it. When you're that quick,
he knows leverage too, so
exactly.
He can kind of take care of that. But you're right. You're absolutely right as far as, when he gets high and gets, like I said, stalemated, that can be an issue. No doubt about it.
I'm we can go,
I was going to say, so give me some honorable mentions here outside the top 5.
Yeah, the other two I would love to see, and then I'll just throw in a day 2, day 3 guy. Omar Norman Lott, I think I'm way higher on him than consensus.
I was going to say, I don't think I've seen any of his tape.
He's explosive, technically sound, and like fierce motor. I love his hand usage. I love his ability to get extended. He was more of a rotational guy at Tennessee. Like he was not a 3-down player. I'm going to stay out there all the time, but I just really like that he can, force the issue quickly and then disengage. There's just a lot of tape I like when he is on the field. That was impressive. Obviously there's concerns about, is he a 3-down player because of how much he was rotated, but Tennessee just rotates all their guys all the time. Darius Alexander is getting some first round love out of Toledo. Shout out Coach Bennett. That's my guy. Floor mate at IU as a freshman.
Nice. There you go.
He coaches Nichols, but he was all about Darius Alexander when I was talking about guys I need to know this year. He's an older prospect, but great athlete. Good short area quickness. He can pack some punch. I think that age might drop him a little bit, but I can imagine he's an early day 2 guy if they want to trade back. 23 is probably a bit of a reach, but a big fan. And then I'll give you a day 2, day 3 guy I just love. JJ Pegues at Ole Miss. You may know him as a defensive tackle that also had, I think, 7-9 offensive touchdowns.
Say what?
They had him playing wildcat quarterback and fullback and tight end. He even did some fullback reps at the combine. But this is like the most unique. He's the closest thing to Travis Hunter as far as two-way versatility.
Two-way player, right?
For a 309-pound guy, like they would put him out on the edge, and I saw some bend where I was like, "Whoa, defensive lineman should not be able to do this." It's a bit of a mess. There's some technical refinement he needs, but like I love that they have this unique athlete in the interior of the defensive line that could also, play wildcat quarterback and succeed at it. I think he's a heck of a story. I'm really excited to see where he goes. And if the Packers wanted to take a swing on him in day 2, I'd be thrilled.
I love it. I hope he goes someplace where they have an open-minded coach, where they have a program that allows him to maybe dabble in both of those things. Like I'd love that. I hate it when guys are very versatile and obviously so, and then they end up in an NFL program with some coach who is like no imagination. That's usually the worst. Let's kick out to the edge.
Yeah.
Talk about some guys flying off the edge, flying off the draft boards, most likely. We talk about top 5 edge players. I resign myself to most of these guys being gone automatically, so I can be pleasantly surprised if they are available at 23.
Yeah, we're gonna start with Abdul Carter. He should be the number 1 pick, I think,
but he's not. Sir, he's not running at the pro day. I mean, you gotta knock him down for something, don't you?
Yep, obviously. This is a guy that was like a hybrid linebacker edge, and then they just moved him out to edge full time last year. And you could see, like, as the season progressed, like, holy, this guy's going to be unstoppable. The Micah Parsons comparison's a bit rich. It's a similar trajectory path at Penn State wearing number 11. The bend and speed, like his bend is ridiculous. And you saw that when he was playing off-ball linebacker as a blitzer in 2023, where you're like, maybe he should kick out to edge full time.
Right.
I know we talked about this before, but it's the competitive toughness for me that really made him stand out as the number one pick. Like playing through injury, trying to carry your team in the college football playoff, and they made a nice little run there.
That's literally because you know me,
Yeah.
I'm not a big college football guy during the season, but during the playoffs is when I kind of tune in because I know obviously there's gonna be a lot of guys who are featured who will end up on NFL rosters.
Yeah.
Man, I was absolutely. You talk about. I didn't see Micah Parsons. I saw Max Crosby.
Yeah.
I saw a guy. You talk about. It didn't matter what the game plan was, what the offensive design of the play was, who was across from him. I mean, that's a guy who's going to figure it out as far as the bend is insane, but also having a plan. No matter what gets thrown at him, he's through the line. Yeah. He's on the other side of the line of scrimmage. I mean, he's an insanely impressive player.
Yeah, was blown away by him. And, your point about the college football playoff, I know there's all this debate about expanding it. Expanding it was so sick. I had so much fun watching all these games.
It was great. I agree. And you get more exposure to more. I mean, that's just me selfishly as an NFL fan, right? You get
but you get good on good tape, even if you're into
exactly.
It.
Yes. 1,000% agreed.
All right. This next one's
number two.
Justice Mosqueda's guy.
There you go.
I saw him first and I liked him, but it's Justice Mosqueda's guy.
For the record, Your Honor.
No, this guy, it's Shamar Stewart at Texas A&M. He's playing at 280, 290 at Texas A&M, and you still saw explosiveness and bend and all these freaky plays. Obviously there's a lack of production there, and I just don't even want to get into that conversation anymore. We've
had two whole videos on this channel about it, so no need for that.
Again, the thing I'll keep saying about Shamar that was my favorite thing about him when I watched full games of him is if he was getting stalemated or beat in some capacity, he figured out how to get over that and then adjust his game. And I think that is a mental toughness trait that doesn't get talked about enough with prospects. And it's why he's going to be a winning player. When things don't go your way, you can keep doing the same thing and, the definition of insanity and just keep banging your head over and over. Or you can figure out how to...
Yes. Sorry, something in my throat there.
Or you can figure out how to fix it. And I thought he did a great job with that as games went on. And I just think he's a rare talent and athlete that, the right coaching staff is going to make him an absolute stud.
I love it. I love his game. I'm with you. I would do absolute flips and cartwheels if he made it to 23. Although I'm also resigned to him making it to 23 and the Packers passing. So can't wait.
That was Grant Barton. That was Grant Barton for me last year.
Right.
Traumatized by that one.
They're going to take Gray Zabel instead, and we're all going to be like, oh, okay.
All right. Michael Williams at number 3. Another similarly long, big giant of a man. I'm going to swear. So just, if you're a kid,
hell yes.
I have a trait I call, and I use it very rarely, but I call it bullshit strength, where it's just like what you're doing does not look right and doesn't seem like it's possible.
Bullshit strength.
But you turn on his 2023 tape, and there's just plays where he gets extended, and he's so freaking strong that you just immediately can tell the offensive linemen just resigned themselves to just going backward. It's just pure defeat. Like, I just got my ass kicked. And he has straight up bullshit strength. And everyone's going to criticize, again, lack of production, especially late in the season. But, he had a high ankle sprain he played on the entire season. And when you keep playing on something like that, it's not getting better.
Well, it gets worse, yeah.
I think he's the perfect edge setting kind of defensive end. I literally wrote, and this is like pre-2024 season, I said, if you built a 4-3D end in a lab, he would be the guy that you want. Hey, if the Packers want a guy like that, and they're not sold on Van Ness's production, they want a edge, quote unquote, edge setting D end. I think he's your guy, and I think that rare combination of length and bullshit strength makes him, such an exciting prospect in my eyes.
New Tyler Brooke proprietary metric, bullshit strength.
Yeah.
Coming to the internet.
BSS.
Love it, absolutely love it. Next up, who you got?
Mike Green, the edge out of Marshall.
I love his game, but I'd be
absolutely
shocked if A, he's there, but B, if the Packers took him.
No, he's
little guy.
Not really a Packers type. He's hovering around 250. I keep thinking Atlanta makes a lot of sense for him as far as a pass rusher. I don't know if he makes it out of like 15, 16, honestly.
Yeah.
The way he performed at the Senior Bowl practice and just like laying guys on their ass, his tape when he's playing for such a bad program. Sorry, Marshall. No disrespect to you guys. It was just a rough year for y'all. His tape against Ohio State and Virginia Tech is just phenomenal. And I think he has such a variety bag combined with that first step explosiveness. And I just love a pass rusher that knows how to set you up. And if I can win with speed and then make you adjust to my speed and then counter inside, and then you start prepping for me to counter inside, and then I'll flash an outside spin to you. Guys that can layer on their pass rush plan is just such a unique skill that immediately translates to the NFL. Like, this is a guy that can be a double-digit sack guy. I'm not saying as a rookie within those first 3 seasons. If he becomes your premier pass rusher, he can get there.
Love it. Wait, are we at 5? I've lost count again.
That was 4.
That was 4. So tell me my guy from BC is on this list at 5. Come on.
He is 5.
There we go. See? Hey.
I loved him.
Yes.
Again, 4 and 5 were the 2 guys that were first and second in FBS and sacks. And I think sacks are overrated when you're going to evaluate edge prospects. But who, man, is Donovan Ezraku's tape just sick as hell?
Oh my God. You talk about having a plan.
Mhm.
Talking about being able to counter whatever he's presented with. I fucking love this kid.
Well, he has such a unique body type too, because he's like 6'2" and pretty stout, but he has such damn long arms that it's another part of his bag. He does flash inside. He can win with bend and all this, but then he can just throw a long arm at you and you're just totally thrown off by it because you have all these other things you're worrying about, and he can just really kick your ass that way. And I know he's an undersized edge. I know the Packers don't love undersized edges. I love his effort and technique against the run. He will get washed out by double teams. There is no denying that. He is just simply too small to handle him. But his ability to hold the edge and get extended and dig his heels in, I think, is a valuable trait that, kind of helps make up. I'm trying to think of the right word, but balances it out because he's such a valuable pass rusher.
Well,
right?
and because it enables you to count on him on first downs, on early downs, and not have to worry about him. Like, he's going to probably get washed out by double teams, but he's going to at least do the job of forcing it back inside and making sure the help arrives. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's not going to get completely blown off the ball, thrown off the club kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm very intrigued by his game. The Jeff Halfley connection's obviously there. I think it'd be
that's exciting. I love it.
That at some point, Gutekunst, dude, I love you. Stop taking the big boys at edge.
Oh, it's never going to change. It's never going to change. What about honorable? You got honorable mentions here?
I'm not going to include James Pierce. This is a guy I've heard a lot about.
What? In the last 48 hours, I've seen his name more times than I have in the last 2 months.
I hate bashing on kids. I've heard some not good stuff about him, and this is not criminal, although there is some criminal stuff in the background. Not someone you want trying to learn plays and I hate doing this to kids.
Right. But hey,
I'd argue I was more immature in college than I was in high school. So there's that part of me I try to remember when I'm talking about these kids, but I've heard some bad stuff. I'll give my honorable mention, and he's 9 on this list for me, but I love him so much. Braden Swinson out of LSU.
Nice.
Like, productive, proven pass rusher with speed, length, strength, a variety of pass rush moves. The reason he's not as high, it was a 1-year wonder. I think he transferred from Oregon to LSU. But man, he turned it on last year, and there's a lot of really fun tape of him. I know he's edge 9 for me. He's still a top 50 grade for me.
Nice.
It's a loaded edge class. I think he's a ton of fun. He had over 60 pressures last year. I just think this is a dude that has a lot in his bag. It's going to be a very fun player to watch.
I absolutely love it. No doubt about it. We have talked about a lot of dudes here, none of whom will be selected by the Green Bay Packers.
Why not?
Because we have spoken about them.
Because they're taking Matthew Golden. That's why.
If they take Matt Golden, I will walk down Fifth Avenue with a sandwich board sign saying, I can't believe they took Matthew Golden.
I already tweeted it. I'm popping the top off on a stream if he gets drafted.
It'll be crazy. Tyler, always appreciate the time, man. We will be back next week. We'll probably look at, top 5 prospects in other areas of need for the Green Bay Packers. In the meantime, everybody, thanks so much. Tyler, thank you for the time, and I'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good.
In the councils of government, we must guard against
NFL draft.
industrial complex.